First the cash, now the clunker. Welcome everybody, I'm Neil Cavuto and here's the deal. Give folks a deal they buy, take away the deal they don't. If you ever needed proof of a hangover after a party, GM, Chrysler and Ford, all providing it today. Their sales down after a clunker's letdown. General Motors sales tumbling 45% from a year earlier. Chrysler's 42% and Ford's 5.1%. That's what happens when it's said it's go, so do customers. Increasingly accustomed to buy when there are sales, less so when there are not. What is telling with these car guys is the government didn't help them this past summer as much as up the ante for them. Now Americans are spoiled into thinking big rebates and big cash incentives. $500 or $1,000 won't cut it. Start with $4,500 clunker numbers or customers ain't even considering it. So ain't that a kick? Just as we suspected, cash for clunkers just swapped fall sales for summer sales. Great summer, lousy fall so far. Until and unless there are more sales. And they better be big, really big sales. This is exactly why my first guest was against the Cash for Clunkers program from the very start. She predicted all of this. Automotive expert Lauren Fix, also known as the car coach, with me now. Take away a deal, they stop, huh?
Absolutely. Wouldn't you? I mean, hey, when there's 90% off or 75% off at a clothing store, hey, we're there. As soon as it's full retail, nobody wants to buy.
Okay, but now they've been spoiled into thinking that not only a $500 or $1,000 sale, but they're thinking $4,500, $5,000.
I just negotiated a car from a girlfriend of mine. We saved $4,000 off the sticker, but I had to go in there and negotiate it with her. So that's what it took for her to make the sale and for them to make the sale.
You've got to be hell for a salesman.
Actually, I'm really good with them because I try to do what I can to make everybody happy. But it was fun.
So you're like Henry Kissinger in a showroom. Now what happens though? Are they going to have to do more of this in the future, or are they? You know, in case of Ford, it wasn't as bad, so they have some compelling product. What do you make of all this?
I think Ford saw some of the writing on the wall, and they were smart enough to take a very large, home equity loan, essentially against the value of the Ford name, and that was actually very beneficial to them because they were able to make it through, and they didn't take any government money or our tax money, where GM is now basically run by the government and Chrysler is run by fiat. So we actually lost a car company in my eyes. But I think that it's going to take some serious incentives.
But the real merger there, the actual selling of products, that's not in the works.
We'll see the product. We'll see the product.
So you're doubtful.
I'm neutral. We'll see what the product is on it for sure. I'm not 100%.
All right, but a couple of things that happened along the way here. Not only indications Cash for Clunkers was a short-lived success, but it just robbed from the future. And now indications that GM, when we bailed him out, and that Saturn was going to be bought out by someone else. Now,
Penske,
the person interested in buying it, Penske, bowed out. And what's going on with all these government-orchestrated deals? Well,
first off, in the Penske deal, it wasn't the fault of General Motors. They were willing to supply them with product, but at a certain point, they were allowed to buy product from other sources in order to supply the network, because Saturn has a wonderful dealer network, and they're really great, modern, contemporary dealers, and their salespeople are well-trained. But the problem was he wasn't able to make a deal with someone. When they put the deal forward, it was a no-go. So that meant Penske had to back out, or he'd end up having no product and a dealer network that would actually be a loss on his hands. So he figured, I'm getting out while the getting's good. Unfortunately, the results are 13,000 people are going to lose their jobs.
You don't think there's anyone looking at that?
Well, I think if anyone would, I would guess Renault, because they've been trying to get back into the U.S. marketplace. But remember, they already own Nissan and Infiniti. So I don't know, they may want to bring that Renault name back. It's going to be an interesting grasp to see what the results are with that. But the truth is...
Does anyone like those cars, Renaults?
We're from the era that we remember Renault, like the little car in the Fuego, and we go, ugh, But I think the new up-and-coming generation doesn't know Renault. Really? And if the car's a good price, and again, everyone likes a deal, if the price is right, they might be able to sell cars. Look at Kia. Their sales were up.
Well, you're right about that. But, it's funny. The Cash for Clunkers program was really beneficial to the Kias. It was beneficial to the Mazdas. It was beneficial to Toyota, Hyundai. Lessons here?
Lessons, yes. You cannot restrict, number one, where the car was built. But we didn't really look at the big picture. As I've said in the past, that there's a lot of knee-jerk quick reactions. They don't sit down with people that are in the manufacturing business, in the automotive business, and say, listen, if this happens, what's going to happen? And now we're going to force ourselves into a supply and demand. I guarantee you for 2010, what's the manufacturers going to do? They're going to make less cars, which means there's going to be less incentives. And if you want a car, there's going to be less negotiating room for you as the consumer. And I think that's what's going to end up happening.
Weird stuff. Lauren,
it is.
You saw it all coming. Thank you, young lady. Good seeing you again. Lauren Fix.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
All right, well, from high hopes to no hope, Saturn car dealer is now aware that, as Lauren was pointing out, their product will be phased out, and so will their businesses.